Hi, Mill Housing Nation. My name's Amanda Herring from Mill Housing Network, and I've got Ellie here from Navy Mutual. And we are going to talk about protecting your family, making sure the ones you love are safe. And before we do, I'm going to let Ellie just introduce herself and Navy Mutual and just tell a little bit about what they do, and then we will dive right into our questions. So, Ellie, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. Yes. So my name is Ellie Matlock. I'm one of the sales managers at Navy Mutual. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. Navy Mutual is actually the country's oldest veteran service organization. We are also a not-for-profit, and we have kind of two arms to what we do. Half of what we do is providing veteran services. We help veterans get all their benefits and make sure they're fully taken care of. And then we also sell life insurance and annuities to active duty, retired, and separated veterans with all branches of service. So we're really here just to, serve the military community.
We appreciate y'all so much and your partnership for all these years with Mill Housing Network. So we just love you all. Thank you for serving this amazing community, and we appreciate it so much. So, without further ado, we will dive right into our questions. So, our overall theme is protecting your family, making sure the ones you love are safe, which is so important. And we're going to talk a little bit about just utilizing your summer and the time that you have and getting those life insurance policies going. So our first question is, summer's a time when families are traveling and relocating to new orders. What should military families keep in mind during these transitions when it comes to protecting their future?
Totally. So with any sort of transition, your needs are going to change, right? Maybe you're renting a home when you move, but maybe you're buying a home, right? There's lots of people who they buy a home in each location and keep it and rent it out. When they move somewhere else, maybe when you move, you need a different car. So your liabilities can change depending on what's going on in your life. So it's good to just assess, hey, if, God forbid, right, I passed away too soon, what in this new stage, in this new location, in this new way we're living life, what would I need financially to make sure my family is taken care of?
Yeah, such an important thing for people, everyone, to ask themselves and reassess it with their life transitions. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay. Our next one is, are there any seasonal tips that you'd offer to military families for reviewing or updating their insurance coverage over the summer?
Yeah, so there isn't really like a seasonality to life insurance, but
Hmm.
I would recommend you make your own seasonality, right?
Right.
So every year, pick a date, whatever date works for your family. Typically, people like summer just because there's more vacation time going on.
Mhm.
That vacation usually is looking more a little like a beach, right? Than a Christmas vacation, which is a little more hectic. So
Yes.
summer usually works for people because they have a little more time on their hands to have these conversations. But the
Mhm.
seasonality really is up to you. But find an annual date that works for your family just to assess, hey, what do we need covered? And does that need, is that covered by our current life insurance? If it is, fabulous. You've checked that box. You can finish your year before your next check-in, right? Feeling good
Yeah.
that your family's properly protected. And if you identify a gap, just make sure that's taken care of, right? It's similar
Mhm.
to, we do this with our homeowners insurance, right? We make
Mhm.
sure that if God forbid something happened to our home, it could be covered. Same thing with our jewelry. We assess the value of our jewelry every 5 years. We should be giving our life insurance that same attention.
Yeah, totally agree. Well said. All right. With kids out of school, family times obviously at its peak, like you mentioned. How can summer be a good time to start conversations about long-term family planning and protection?
So I love this question, right? Because a lot of times in summer, we're sitting
Hmm.
back and we're, talking to our significant other about, hey, like we'd love to retire in this location someday.
Hmm.
Or watching our kids play and we're saying, hey, I'd love to be able to, live near our kids when they grow up and have their own kids. Or, I'd love for life to look like this, right? And we start
Hmm.
having those conversations. We're relaxing, we're with our family, and we start to envision and have those discussions about what does life look like, right? And so it's a good time to just be reminded and have those visions of what you want that to be, and then take that step back and say, how do we get there, right? And align our finances with that conversation, with the end goal in mind. If we don't have a future vision of what we want that to look like, we'll have no why behind our plan. We'll have no discipline behind our plan.
Yeah.
Kind of same thing with life insurance, right? We say we want this covered, and that's going to lead to this amount of coverage. And so there's a why behind it. So for, kind of that future planning, have that why behind it, have that goal, have that vision of what you're trying to achieve.
I love that. It's such a good tip for everybody to take. Definitely. Okay, but what are some common oversights families make in the summer months that could impact their financial security down the road?
Saying yes too much, right? It's summer.
Yeah.
And so in that same breath, we're like, we want to enjoy everything. Let's go on that
Yeah.
vacation. Let's go to that outing. Let's, go do all these things. And while that's all so fun and we're trying to cram it into those nice months before we're
Hmm.
cooped up in our houses again, we have to, again, remember that why and remember that vision of where are we trying to go. And that's where I'm going to use the word that sometimes has that negative connotation. That's where budget, right,
Yeah.
comes in. But if you think of budget as a freeing term versus a constrictive term, right? A budget tells you what you can spend, not what you can't spend, right? And a
Yeah.
budget tells you what you can do and still achieve your goals, not, oh, you have to be boring and you can't do fun things, right?
Yeah.
You can do things that are important to you. You just can't do everything. And I think in
Yeah.
summer, we a lot run into just saying yes to everything because
Mm.
people were offering to do more things. So
Yes.
I would say having that budget, being disciplined, and just remembering what's my overall goal. And maybe I'm bringing snacks to the pool instead of buying snacks at the pool, right?
Yes.
Those little things. So
Yes, I love what you just mentioned about like flipping the script on how people think about budgeting, and it's what you can do and not what you can't do. And so just
yeah,
making sure that's, you're thinking about it that way and not it being limiting. And I was just talking to a friend too about summer and how we feel this pressure sometimes as parents these days to entertain our kids at all times. It's okay to be bored. It's
yes,
okay to pack the snacks, like you
yes,
said, and remember the end goal and your why and your plan, and all these life insurance, all this stuff factors into all of that. So I love that
absolutely.
you mentioned that. Okay, so what are some easy summer checkups, summer checkup steps families can take to make sure their insurance and financial plans are up to date?
Yeah, so I think again, just circling back to pick that date to kind of do
Yeah.
your family financial checkup. Again, summer is great just because people typically there's a lot less
Right.
chaos going on in
Yeah.
summer. In the same breath as I'm saying, we're saying yes to everything. So I understand, especially if there's kids involved, there's never a time that isn't chaos, right? I have two kids
Right.
myself, so I get that that's kind of a conflicting statement. But in summer you can have like a deck date or whatever you wherever it would be for you, and just have those conversations of, hey, what are our future goals? What does that
Hmm.
look like? If something happened to us prematurely, how do we make sure our family is properly taken care of, right? Because the goal of life insurance isn't to make anybody rich. It isn't to, take your money, right? The goal of life
Right.
insurance is to make sure that if an untimely death happens, especially if we're talking term insurance,
Hmm.
that your family doesn't feel the financial burden of that loss. Whole life is really more to pass generational wealth, cover burial expenses, things like that. And that's a separate conversation,
Hmm.
which we can totally help if anybody wants to have that conversation of term versus whole. But
Yeah.
it's summer is just a good time just to have that check in, right, on all aspects of not just life insurance. Check that mortgage, right? Is the insurance
Right.
appropriately covering what it now would cost to rebuild your house if that need was there, right? Are we
Hmm.
properly saving for retirement? That would give us the retirement we want. Just kind of stepping back and having those meetings and having that communication and being
Yeah.
aligned on it, it's gonna just make the rest of the year much easier.
Yes. So, so important. Yes. Make life, don't give yourself anxiety putting it all off.
Yes, 100%. I always say to my husband, if it's more stressful, that means we need to talk about it more, right? Because I think as humans,
Yes.
the more stressful it is, we're like, oh gosh, I don't want to talk about that. And so my mantra to him is always like, oh no, 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 like we need to talk more if this
Yes.
stuff's uncomfortable or stressful. So I know that for a lot of people, finances can be uncomfortable. And I
Hmm.
think if it feels uncomfortable, keep talking, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just keep talking until it's not uncomfortable anymore.
Yeah.
Until you get, yeah, a sense of a lot of relief and you have a plan. It's, yes,
Yes,
I
yes.
agree. Awesome. I love that. Okay, so let's see. For National Guard and Reserve members who may be activated over the summer, what unique protection options does Navy Mutual offer? Is it the same options as active duty?
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about Navy Mutual is we have no restrictions. So the only thing that we don't cover is suicide within the first 2 years of coverage. Everything else we're covering, right? So we don't have any
Hmm.
limitations if you are an aviator. We don't have any limitations if you're in a war zone, right?
Hmm.
That's the mission of what we're here to do. We're here to protect military families, and we wouldn't be doing that if we had restrictions on what the military is requiring people to do, right? We
Right.
also don't have restrictions on the amount of coverage you can be covered for. So sometimes you'll run into if you're in a war zone, you're only covered for X amount, but when you're not, you're covered for this other amount. And we'll cover you for the full amount, regardless of what you're doing and where you're doing it.
Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. Okay. For military members transitioning out of service this summer, fall, what should they be thinking about in terms of insurance and protecting their family's future?
So definitely, consider that your SGLI will be going away. Now,
Hmm.
we do offer what we call an SGLI conversion, where you can take your SGLI without going through any sort of medical exam.
Hmm.
You and your spouse are eligible to convert that over to a whole life policy. Your spouse is not eligible for the I'm sorry, for the VGLI. If they're on
Hmm.
FSGLI, they're not eligible for VGLI, which is a veterans group life, which is available to you. There is also VA life. VGLI can get very expensive as you age. So, those are always things to think about. What are you doing with your coverage? We're happy to have, honest conversations. Again, we are
Hmm.
Visa, we are a nonprofit. So we're not here to sell anybody anything. We're here to educate and make sure you're making an informed decision, whatever that looks like, right?
Hmm.
Our skin in the game is not, do you do something with Navy Mutual? Our skin in the game is, did you do what's right for your family? So, definitely consider that. Definitely consider all the military benefits available to you. Go to the classes, pay attention in the classes. We personally get to go to some of those just to learn. And there's a lot of great benefits out there, and you just need to do what's going to be best for your family, which is where, again, those conversations that can sometimes feel
Hmm.
uncomfortable are so important. So again, just things to consider, right? Take advantage of everything that makes sense for you. And I would
Hmm.
say no pressure to do what the person next to you is doing. Do what makes sense for your family.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. How long before retirement should a service member call Navy Mutual to talk about transitioning away from SGLI?
So there isn't like this is, the X many days before you should call, right?
Right.
We're happy to talk to you anytime. I always find that the people who are the least stressed about leaving and retiring already have everything set up prior to retirement. Retirement comes with a whole slew of choices, a whole slew of decisions they have to make, a whole slew of what does my new life look like, right?
Yeah.
So I do find that people who get it taken care of prior to retirement, they're not stressed about the 120-day window that they have to make certain decisions.
Yeah.
So I do recommend doing it prior to retirement. We have people who sometimes do it years before because
Hmm.
they've identified they need extra coverage. And we have some people who do it within that 120 days after separation. So there isn't really a timeline I could suggest. I think kind of what I find that makes people the least stress is getting it done prior to actually retiring. But again,
Right.
it's going to boil down to what makes sense for your family.
Yeah. And going back to our tidbit too on being proactive and getting those things done so you're not stressing
Yes,
yourself out.
yes, yes.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, Ellie. We so appreciate Navy Mutual and all the education and all you do for our community. And so we've loved our time with you here. And I hope this was highly educational and beneficial for everyone out there. And we will see you soon.